Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the Huawei Mate 8. It is Huawei's latest and greatest phablet flagship. Got a lot of praise in the media for its stellar hardware, but it also got a lot of flack for its substellar software. I agree on some things, but definitely disagree on some other aspects here, and I will talk about what these are and why later in the video. But for now, let's start off with the design and build quality. A little size comparison first here with a more regular size phone, as you can see. Of course, it's noticeably bigger, but we also have a noticeably bigger display here with 6 inches, and here, for example, with a 5.5 incher. That actually is still absolutely manageable because one-hand use, of course, is more limited and it's not the very easiest one, but for a 6 incher it still manages to be very compact because the device is very thin and also quite narrow because, as you can see here, the bezels are actually absolutely really nicely done. So no complaints here at all. About the back, we have aluminum, which can be a little bit slippery from time to time, and I would have maybe wished for something more like this brushed metal here on the side, which is super grippy and makes it easy to securely hold on to. On the back it could be a little bit harder. We also have beveled edges here on the side that will maybe look a little bit less beautiful after a while, but on the front we have something really nice, and that is 2.5D glass, which is super nice to hold on to and slide towards the sides, which is something that I like, and bezel gestures work better than ever. And I will talk about that a little bit later. Other than that, let's check what we have here. The fingerprint reader, that works ridiculously fast, and I will tap to just show that to you. As you can see, a little tap already is enough. And it's super fast if you turn it on. Tap. As you can see, that's already enough. So this one is stupid fast and really precise. I never had any mismatches or so. Here we have the camera, the flash, microphone here on the right, and the headphone jack. Here on the left side we have the SIM card and SD card tray. On the right side we have the speaker. This cutout is for the aesthetics, and here we have the micro USB. On the right side we have the pretty much perfectly placed buttons because the power button, perfect position for me with the nice tactile feedback. Resistance is a little bit on the lower side, but that is actually fine. And just slightly higher we have the volume rocker that is also on the clicky side, a little bit less resistance, which makes it very easy to use, for example, for me in apps like Naked Browser. So this has been perfectly done. So in terms of hardware, they couldn't have possibly made it any better. It feels super supreme, super premium because, as you can see, no bending, no squeaking at all. Super solid, absolutely great here. I couldn't complain at all. It's still a little bit on the bigger side, but for what you get, it's very compact. Great design elements, all that is absolutely fine. So let's get into it and check the display. We have a 6-inch display with a 1080p resolution, and a lot of people complain it not being 1440p, but I don't see this an issue at all because of one thing. This screen is super clear, the contrast is absolutely great. I'm not quite sure what they even did here to make it appear that sharp. White point is absolutely great, but you can adjust it in the settings from warmer to colder. I did it slightly towards the colder side because that's something I just prefer. The blacks, if we turn off the light here, you can see there is a little bit of IPS glow on this angle here and also on this one, but it's absolutely fine, and the blacks as they are absolutely solid. Of course, no AMOLED level, but that was to be expected. The colors though are absolutely brilliant, super vivid, super bright, but not oversaturated and still very accurate, just very pleasing and very popping to the eye. Just a joy to look at them. Viewing angles are absolutely solid as well. It does maybe look like it here, and on 45-degree angles the color shifts a little bit, but that's an angle I think you won't really look at anyways, so that is fine. Maximum brightness was still okay, maybe not the very brightest one, but also that one thing is good, it's very bright already very early. So let's check the sound and see if that one can match the quality of the display. Now, even though the speaker is on the right side, in theory could get blocked, but for me normal use, because let's check that, if I use it like this, I have it on the left side, so I didn't block it, but therefore I did reflect the sound, which is absolutely fine. I never had any blocking issues. Maximum volume was absolutely fine. In most cases I actually just use 80 or 90%, so all is good here. Tonal balance is good, a little bit of bass, strong mids, and just ever so slightly muffled highs. Overall still an absolutely great experience. Of course not front firing stereo speaker great, but for a bottom facing speaker, top notch. As for the headphone jack audio output quality, absolutely fine, definitely on the higher level here, because maximum volume was fine, just also slightly cut off highs, but should be good enough. I didn't have any complaints about that, so all is fine. Let's check the performance here, and this is maybe one of the highlights here. Let's go into the browser and see what we've got. As you can see here, absolutely did still load. So as you can see here, super smooth, absolutely brilliant, absolutely responsive, pretty much no lag at all. Super buttery smooth, and both browsing engines, as you can see, work smooth, because on some newer devices these days the older rendering engine doesn't really work that well, as you can see here as well. In Phoenix it works right. One thing that I noticed though in many apps, because in general Huawei did tweak the scrolling, as you can maybe see, it feels a lot lighter with less friction, so it will scroll way further. This is something you will have to get used to. I won't call it worse, because it's just a personal preference and some might even prefer that, so I'm actually fine with that. It's just something you have to get used to. Here if we check Palabra, as you can see here also, absolutely smooth, and even G+, one of the most intensive apps here, is absolutely nice. As you can see here, it does cache a little bit when it loads, but the scrolling itself is absolutely good. And one thing that I absolutely love is how fast the app switching works, because if I use my side bezel gestures here properly, I could actually switch. Sorry, that's just me. As you can see here, I could switch faster than my finger. I can't even keep up with the finger. Also, recent apps have been heavily improved, because now we have these nice cards, and the great thing is always the last app that you use is in the middle. So this makes app switching very fast, and as you can see, this device is super responsive and definitely one of the snappiest, if not the snappiest device that I've ever used. So I give it full props here, and I give it all the praise, because already on my last video for the software UI, a lot of people said that they noticed how quick and snappy this device is, and I gotta say, I absolutely agree. It is the snappiest device that I've used. Very, very lag-free, very smooth, with the latest update that I had to manually install, because it didn't come with the OTA just yet. It came out for about a week. And as you can see here, gaming performance, absolutely fine here. Quite high frame rates, almost no drops in frames, very consistent, very smooth. Way better than I expected, because usually the Kirins don't have the best GPU, but this is definitely on a flagship level without any issues. So overall qualities, in-app performance, very snappy, fast loading times, capable multi-app management, RAM management, gaming performance, great, absolutely here, everything's on the best side. Battery life is something that I want to talk about. First, the charging time. 2 hours and 20 seems a little bit long, but we have a big battery, so that's something you will have to live with. It is supposed to already support the fastest quick charge invented by Huawei, but for some reason I only had a standard charger and it didn't really charge that fast, but still okay. Now let's check the battery life here, and consider one thing: this is always on 2 days of use. 7 hours of screen on time. Why did I use this instead of GSM that I usually use? Because it just read out the values wrong for some reason. I don't know why. Also 6 hours and 16. This is already with heavier use, same as the 6 hours with recording video, playing games. A higher brightness actually, because usually I used about 35% brightness. And if I used something higher, then I only ended up with 5.5, which is my absolute minimum that I reach with very heavy use. In normal use, over the course of 2 days, I would see 6.5 hours to be easily done. And if you go on 1 day, which I just couldn't kill the battery in 1 day, I would say at least 7 hours should be no problem. Standby drain was nice. Dose is a little bit something that still keeps notification in the background. Sometimes they get delayed, but that's it. Let's check the software here. We have some nice small things. For example, here the shortcuts for the quick apps here on the bottom. We have the customizable quick settings that you can now also make disappear some if you don't want him to display. This is something really nice. The biggest issue that I had with the older versions of the recent apps is absolutely fixed, because now we have this really great recent apps that I actually prefer over stock Android. Also, the layout is a little bit nicer done. Some things now in the advanced settings are a little bit cluttered, and I talked about that in my software review. As you can see, Android 6.0 with EMUI 4.0. So if you want to know a little bit more about the software, just check my software review. Just for short, it's absolutely great. They improved a lot. All the complaints that I have were pretty much all fixed. The only thing that I still have to complain about is the battery management, which is just too aggressive. Even sometimes if you set an app to protect it, it just doesn't work properly. Because, for example, Phoenix never did auto-sync on its own. Google Plus and all the rest did it though. Maybe it's just a thing of Phoenix. But overall, I give the software a total go from my side. It's not worth quite the flag that it gets because it's very capable. Yes, the UI maybe just in terms of design and looks isn't up to everyone's taste, but that is something you will have to live with. But I got used to it very, very quickly, and it's way nicer than ever before. Now, about the camera, I'm really happy to say that this is finally full flagship level. Not maybe on the very highest level, but just for example, here the selfies. Absolutely nicely done, very, very sharp, great exposure, great natural colors. Absolutely nice. There is also a beauty mode, but it didn't manage to make me a beauty. It just got rid of some of the blemishes, but that is absolutely okay. I just wouldn't use it anyways. Now for the low light capabilities, a little bit on the darker side, but therefore quite noise free and still maintaining a quite sharp overall experience. So absolutely fine here with the autofocus being good. As for the normal picture qualities, I gotta say I was quite impressed most of the times because very sharp. If it gets it right, the autofocus isn't the very fastest one, but therefore quite accurate. Exposure is really great. Macro shots sometimes maybe don't seem to appear that sharp. Sometimes I had a few misfires where it looked really nice, but then didn't turn out. So just make a few pics more. But overall, the camera is very capable, produces great natural shots. They look a little bit more dull here than they would maybe in other cases, but the weather was really bad, so I can't really do much about that. As for the camera, some people could complain about not having 4K, but therefore we have 1080p 60 frames, and for me that makes up for it. Video was very, very smooth, and the auto exposure was also very nice with a great transition from dark to bright. And the autofocus is something that I'm really pleased to finally see on a Huawei device because it works a little bit more on the pumpy side, but actually quite accurate, and it actually is there, and this is the most important thing. And overall the video qualities are great. So I am done with the detail part, and usually what I do now is make a recap, but I will slightly modify that and from now on call it deal breakers. I will go to every category and tell you if it's in my opinion a deal breaker or not. So let's start with the design and build quality. Absolutely not, but because how could it? It's so premium, so well built with a great design, perfect buttons and all that, so absolutely not. It's just a little bit on the bigger side, but if you want a phablet, that's what you want. The display also shouldn't be a deal breaker at all because it's super clear, absolutely perfect color balance, great white, great brightness, everything top notch. Sound shouldn't be one in my opinion because loud enough without any doubts, good tonal balance, maybe the position, but if you are maybe spoiled from a stereo front-facing speaker, then it could be one, but I don't see it as it is. So the performance definitely should be one as well because it's super snappy, super smooth. There is some minor little lag, but that's something that I shouldn't even mention actually, but really, really nice gaming performance as well. So overall performance, top notch. Battery life as well. Should be an easy 2-day phone without any issues, and if you manage to kill this in 1 day, then you really are a heavy user and no phone will really satisfy you anyways. So no deal breaker from my side. The software could be the one deal breaker for a lot of people because I see so many comments, especially in my software review. They say it's the ugliest Android ROM they've ever seen. It's just not great and all that. But if you look a little past that, get a little bit used to the design, use a third-party launcher and nicer icons, I see this UI or this software to be really nice because the functionality is there. They made a whole lot of improvements, got rid of all the complaints that I had. The only thing is still left is the battery management, but the more and longer you use it, it gets accustomed to that and it's absolutely fine. So this could be a deal breaker even though it's not one for me anymore. The camera also, I'm happy to say that it's finally on a flagship level and shouldn't be a deal breaker anyway because pictures turned out really, really nice. Video also on a high level. It's maybe not a flagship camera, but still a flagship camera, and that's what matters. So overall thoughts about this phone, with only the software being a possible deal breaker, this makes it one of the most complete phones on the market. Stellar hardware, great display, great sound, great performance overall. Everything is not just very good like on a lot of phones because a lot of things are even class leading, like the build quality, the performance, the battery life, display calibration. Everything is super top notch. Pretty much the best if you wanted the best hardware. Software maybe not so much. The value here, it's around 550 euros here right now, which is for the price, absolutely fine. You get a whole lot of phone. Sorry, for this price. Of course, there are a lot of competitors here with the Moto X Pure, the Nexus 6P and all that, but it's definitely something different, something that you should definitely consider if you want a phablet. And just for real quick, if you maybe consider to buy the Mate 7 or want to switch from the Mate 7, here's my small take on it. It's better in every aspect, in every single aspect. Better build quality, better display, way better camera, way better performance, way better software. So if the price difference isn't too big, definitely go for this one because it's the way more complete phone. And for example, with something like the Nexus 6, it's a little bit of a harder thing because the Nexus 6 costs almost half of this. So it is better in a lot of terms, but if it's worth double the price, I can't say. So I hope I gave you all the pros, all the cons, all the possible deal breakers and helped you deciding if you want to buy it or not. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more reviews and videos like this, please subscribe to the channel, maybe reshare it as well. And if you have any questions or comments, just leave them down in the comments. Otherwise, all I can say is I wish you a nice day. Until next time, bye.